Hi, I'm Ngân. Today we're gonna discuss about designing organizational structure, basic designs. In this chapter, we're gonna talk about the basics of organizing. First, let's move on to 6 key elements in organizational design. They are first, work specialization, chain of command, span of control, departmentalization, centralization and decentralization, and finally formalization. Traditionally, work specialization was viewed as a way to divide work activities into separate job tasks. Today's view is that it is an important organizing mechanism, but it can lead to problems. The chain of command and its companion concepts, authority, responsibility, and unity of command, were viewed as important ways of maintaining controls in organization. The contemporary view is that they are less relevant in today's organization. Authority refers to the rights inherent in a managerial position to tell people what to do and expect them to do it. The accepted views of authority says that authority comes from the willingness of subordinates to accept it. Line authority entitles a manager to direct the work to the employees. Staff authority refers to functions that support, assist, advise, and generally reduce some of managers' informational burdens. Responsibility is the obligation or expectation to perform assigned duties. Unity of command states that a person should report to only one manager. The traditional view of span of control was that managers should directly supervise no more than 5 or 6 individuals. The contemporary view is that the span of control depends on the skill and abilities of the manager and the employees and on the characteristics of the situation. The various forms of departmentalization are as follows. Functional groups jobs by functions performed. Product groups jobs by product lines. Geographical groups jobs by geographical region. Process groups jobs on product or customer flow, and finally, customer groups jobs on specific and unique customer groups. Centralization and decentralization is a structural decision about who makes decisions, upper level managers or lower level managers. Formalization concerns the organization's use of the standardizations and strict rules to provide consistency of control.
About the L2 of the chapter 9 is the contrast mechanistic and organic structure. A mechanistic organization is rigid and tightly controlled structure. An organic organization is highly adaptive and flexible. About the L3 is discuss the contingency factor that favor either the mechanistic model or the organic model of organizational design. An organization's structure should support the strategy. If the strategy changes, the structure also should change. An organization's size can affect its structure up to a certain point. Once an organization reaches a certain size, usually around 2,000 employees, it's fairly mechanistic. An organization's technology can affect its structure. An organic structure is most effective with unit production and process production technology. An organistic structure is more effective with the mass production technology. The more uncertain an organization's environment, the more it needs the flexibility of an organic design.
Hi, I'm Thư and I'm going to describe the traditional organizational structure. When design a structure, managers might choose one of the traditional organizational design, and there are three main structure: symbol structure, functional structure, and divisional structure. A symbol structure is one with little departmentalization, wide span of control, authority centralized in a single person, and little formalization. A functional structure groups similar or related occupational specialties together. And the last one, a divisional structure is made up of separate business units or division. So that's the end of my part. Now my teammate will continue. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lynn and I will continue the presentations with the first case applications which describe about Charlie Scrap Company. So, let's discuss some questions. The first one, describe and evaluate what Charlie Scrap is doing. Charlie Scrap is focusing on the communication with his customer to receive directly feedback for his firm service so as to improve the weakness and better the strength. However, this works effectively in ideal feedback culture, where people are frankly state their opinion about issues. Next question. How might the company's culture of not buying into hype and not taking excessive risks affect its organizational cultural design? First, we must find out what the culture of not buying into hype and not taking excessive risks is. It means this company tends to have more mechanic design. This can be easily understood due to the missions of Charlie Scrap for field finance, which require more stability in rapid changing world nowadays. Therefore, the mechanic design is more appropriate for the stability than the organic one. The centralization can be witnessed when Charlie Scrap heavily include the organizations as commitment manager. The chain of command is also clear so that the managers can receive feedback and deliver to lower department quickly to respond customers' demand. The first question, what structural implications, good and bad, my Scrap's intense focus on customer feedback have? The focusing on the customer strategy is certain impact on the structural design. To work effectively, there should be specializations with requisite departmentalizations so that the customers can know to whom they should talk or complain with. Furthermore, span of control and chains of command are clearly distinguished so that we can know where the responsibility of customer dissatisfactions can be pointed out and solved easily. Finally, the top manager, Charlie Scrap, is the one who formulates this strategy, understands the most power of this. The last question, do you think this arrangement would work for other types of organizations? Well, why not? In my opinion, certainly no, because each organization has its own missions and goals differently. For example, the financial company like Charlie Scrap work well with this arrangement because it is a service company. People honestly feedback because they worry for their benefit in the company. In contrast, for non-profit organization, this may be employment but not really effective since the connect between customer with the organization in terms of benefit is not really strong. Hardly can people willing to give opinion directly when it's not matter with them at all.
Well, the next part and also the last part of this chapter is the case application 2, which is about a new kind of structure. So first question is describe and evaluate what Pfizer is doing with its Pfizer works. Well, Pfizer is continually looking for ways to help employees to be more efficient and effective. And Pfizer helps its managers to spend more time on knowledge work. when they are really needed, and less support work by shifting time consuming tasks with a press of a button. They are also happier because they spend time working on what they know and like to do. The next question is, what structural implications, good and bad, does this approach have? The futuristic concept would be the office of the future. Pfizer will be able to connect all their offices around the world. They will be able to communicate and share information from one staff to another across the world. The amazing thing about this concept is that it follows the 6 elements of the organizational design, which is like division of work, departmentalization, hierarchy development, authority, responsibility and delegation, centralization versus decentralization, and the last one is coordination. The third question is, do you think arrangement would work for like other types of organization? Why or why not? And what types of organizations might it also work for? Like, I think that this arrangement of organization can work if and only if you have offices in many different parts of the world. If we were to bring it on a micro level to our country, it would definitely work for the phone companies and different government offices. Actually, it is already in effect here and in the G world. For example, for the office force, if you were to commit a crime in the San Pedro and to fly to place Sansia, that information would flood to all the police stations in the country, and it allows the police to make an arrest in a limited span of time. The last question is, what role do you think organizational structure plays in an organization's efficiency and the effectiveness? Explain. Well, the organizational structure plays a key role in an organization's efficiency and effectiveness because the time it takes to plan and execute an organization's plan of action is lessened. It allows for easy flow of information which enhances productivity in all sectors of the company. Information, which is the most valuable asset on the planet, is the main ingredient needed by all companies to thrive in their respective business.
Hi, I'm Ngan. Today we're gonna discuss about the topic designing organizational structure, adaptive designs. In the last chapter, we introduced the basic concepts of traditional organizational design, including 6 building blocks of an organizational structure: work specialization, departmentalization, chain of command, span of control, centralization and decentralization, and finally, formalization. In this chapter, we're going to explore contemporary aspects of organizational designs as organizations adapt to the demand of today's environment. First, let's look at some contemporary organizational designs. In the team structure, the entire organization is made up of work team. The matrix structure assigns specialists from different functional departments to work on one or more projects being led by project managers. A project structure is one in which employees continuously work on projects. A virtual organization consists of a small core of full-time employees and outside specialists contemporarily hired when needed to work on projects. A network organization is an organization that uses its own employees to do some work activities and networks of outside suppliers to provide other needed product components or work processes. A learning organization is one that has developed the capacity to continuously learn, adapt, and change. It has certain structural characteristics, including an emphasis on sharing information and collaborating on work activities, minimal structural and physical barriers, and empowered work teams.
The L2 of chapter 11 is to discuss how organizations organize for collaboration. Uh, an organization's collaboration efforts can be internal and or external. Internal collaborative structural options include cross-functional teams, task forces, and communities of practice. A cross-functional team is a work team composed of individuals from various functional specialties. A task force is a temporary committee or team formed to tackle a specific short-term problem affecting several departments. Communities of practice are groups of people who share a concern, a set of problem, or a passion about a topic, and who deepen their knowledge and expertise in that area by interacting or on an ongoing basis. External collaborative options include open innovation and strategic partnerships. Uh, Open innovation expands the search for new ideas beyond the organization boundaries and allows innovations to easily transfer inward and outward. Strategic partnerships are collaborative relationships between two or more organizations in which they combine resources and capabilities for some business goals.
Hello, my name is Lynn and I will continue the presentations with part 3, flexible work arrangements. So, let's take a look at some different types of flexible work arrangements including telecommuting, compressed work week, flex time, and job sharing. So first, telecommuting, a work arrangement in which employees work at home and are linked to the workplace by computer. Now, many businesses view telecommuting as business necessity. However, the telecommuter employees may find that the line between work and home become even more blurred, which can be stressful. Therefore, managing telecommuters then become a matter of keeping employees feeling like they are connected and engaged. Next, compressed work weeks, flex time, and job sharing. Organizations may sometimes find they need to restructure work using flexible work arrangements. One approach is a compressed work week, where employees work longer hours per day but fewer days per week. Another alternative is flex time, or flexible work hours, a scheduling system in which employees are required to work a specific number of hours a week, but they are free to vary those hours within certain limits. Typically designate certain common core hours when all employees are required to be on the job, but allow ending, starting, and lunch time to be flexible. The last one, job sharing, the practice of having two or more people flex a full-time job. Employees from the same immediate family can fill in for one another for any work shift without having to clear it first with their managers. Therefore, many companies have used work sharing during the economic downturn.
Hi, I'm Thư and I'm going to discuss organizing issues associated with a contingent workforce. Contingent workers are temporary, freelance, or contract workers whose employment is contingent on demand for their services. Organizing issues include first, classifying who actually qualifies as an independent contractor. Second, setting up a process for recruiting, screening, and placing contingent workers. And third, having a method in place for establishing goals, schedules, and deadlines, and for monitoring work performance. So that's the end of my part. Now my teammate will continue. Thank you for listening.
The last part of this chapter is today's organizational design challenges. So, as managers look for organizational designs that will best support and facilitate employees to do their work um, efficiently and effectively, they must contain with certain challenges. These are keeping employees connected and managing global structural issues. The first challenge they are faced is keeping employees connected. Well, many organizational design concepts were developed during 20th century when work was done and at an employer place of business under a manager's supervision. Work tasks were fairly predictable and constant, and most jobs were full-time and continued indefinitely. Well, but that's not the way it is today at many companies. A major structural design challenge for managers is finding a way to offer flexibility while also keeping widely disparate and mobile employees connected to the organization. Mobile computing and communication technology have given organizations and employees ways to stay connected and to be more productive. Many companies are giving employees key fob to constantly changing encryption codes that allow them to log onto the corporate network to access email and company data from any computer hooked up to the internet. Cell phones switch seamlessly between cellular networks and corporate Wi-Fi net connections. The biggest the biggest issues in doing work anywhere, anytime, however, is security. And companies must protect their important and sensitive information. Well, fortunately, software and other discipline devices have minimized security issues uh, considerably. And even insurance providers are more comfortable giving their mobile employees access to the information. And the next challenge is managing global structural issues. Well, are there global differences in organizational structure? Are Australian organizations structured like those in the United States? Are German organization structured like those in France or Mexico? Given the given the global nature of today's business environment, managers need to be familiar with the issues. Researchers have concluded that the structure and strategies of organizations worldwide are similar, while the behavior within them is maintaining its control uniqueness. Well, no matter what structural designs managers choose for their organizations, the design should help employees do their work in the best most efficient and effective way they can. And the structures should support the facilitate organizational members as they carry out the organization's work. After all, an organization's structure is simply a means to an end.
I am too, and let's move to the case application 1. The first question is, evaluate Yahoo's new work initiative. Did it have to be an all or nothing proposition? Discuss and present your point of view. Yahoo workers should have seen this coming, the changes to the food, the smartphone, and the working era. Due to the change of new CEO, perhaps some of the ideas presented by the CEO were the best. Some of them were church. That could be important in an industry where competition for workers can be fierce. The engineers would not put up with that, so Yahoo never focused on it. I also read that a Yahoo worker calling the move a moral killer. Mayor is not alone in thinking that having workers in the same place can lead to casual exchanges that in turn can lead to breakthroughs for products. The second question, what can managers and organizations do to help employees to work from home be efficient and effective? One of the first issues to address is encouraging employees to make the decision to become the remote worker, as the concern telecommuting is being isolated or of not being at work. In addition, companies can encourage employees to work anywhere but at the office by pointing to the pay increase employees would receive from money saved on gas, dry cleaning, and eating out at lunch. Some companies use the green angle, emphasizing the carbon-free aspect of not driving a long distance to and from the workplace. Keep in mind that managing the telecommuters then becomes a matter of keeping employees feeling like they are connected and engaged. The next question is, take the three main concerns: productivity, innovation, and collaboration. From the perspective of management, how do you think flexible arrangements stack up? And how about from the employee's perspective? Now, from a manager's perspective, flexible arrangements stack up well overall. From the productivity stance, maybe they feel like they can work more effectively if they work remotely for a couple of days in the week or all of the time. From the innovation stance, employees probably feel like it's easier to be more creative if they would be the only negative, because they would have to set up specific times if they need to collaborate with someone and an immediate meeting would pose a problem. From my point of view, this must be exactly the same to the employee's perspective because they all work for the same organization. The next question is FaceTime critical to one's career? I don't believe that in this day and age that it is critical to have FaceTime. I said this day and age because technology is so advanced, and in 2017 you are able to call or email your boss to or any of your coworker if you needed to. And also you are able to FaceTime if you are needed a meeting or needed by your boss. You can literally have a video chat from your smartphone to meet the one you need. And the last question is being able to work remotely important to you? Why or why not? It's obvious it's not that important to me working remotely because being at the workspace will obviously generate the inspiration to work better and give the best productivity for the job. Admit that working from home will save time, money, and other things, but due to some external contingencies, I will probably give the priority to the latter rather than working. So that's the end of my part. Now my teammate will continue. Thank you.
Well, the case application today is organizational volunteers. The first question is, what do you think about using volunteers to do work that other people get, like they get paid to do? Well, in my opinion, lots of people engaging in voluntary work might not consider themselves as a volunteers. They may see themselves as just helping out or lending a hand, and like for willing to do things. The plan for volunteer involvement would touch many people, so it's often the best to include that many voices when designing it. And next question is, if you were in Mac student's position, what would you be most concerned? Well, I can see that it is very resourceful for customers, but uh, it has all the steps. A customer might need to find what they are looking for. I see that customer services is one of their main priorities. The third question is the 6 elements of organizational design, and discuss how each would affect this structural approach. So, for the division of work, means that a job is broken down into steps and that each step is handled by a specialist. This division of labor reduces employee workload and allow individuals to spend more time doing the job that he or she loves. The departmentalization means that they place one group of specialists from their respective field into one department and they try to improve an aspect of a business. They do this through every department of the company. The hierarchy development is that before a single worker decided to assign a group to specific task, he or she has to follow the chain of the command. And the authority, responsibility, and dedication mean that like are like they are higher for those at the top and lower for those at the bottom level. The centralization and decentralization is to choose the decentralized to control in order to for them to implement decisions and achieve organizational goals. They decentralize so that they can communicate information from employees to employees regardless of the geographic location. The coordination is merging of activities of separate departments in order to achieve organizational plans. And the last question is, do you think this approach could work for other types of work being done or in other types of organization? Explain. Well, I think that arrangement of an organization can work if you have offices in many different parts of the world. If we were to bring it on a micro level to our country, I think it like would definitely work. But actually, it is already in effect here in Jewel.